So now it's time to see our first world model. We will call this wumpus world, and it's actually a construction of an artificial world which consists of 4x4 cells that contain. It was actually created back in 1973, many decades ago, and it was kind of created to study logical reasoning. So we'll see now how this world and logical reasoning come together. Definitely we have an agent. This agent is actually shown over here in this cell. And we'll see now some of the rules governing, if you like, this agent. There's also a beast that is actually called wumpus and gave the name to that game. And evidently the monster is this is eating anyone who enters that kind of cell. And so the monster can be shot by the agent, has an arrow over here, and the agent has just a single arrow. And there are, of course, other complications, like the presence of pit rooms over here. So pit rooms, the moment you enter this pit room from any of the possible other cells, you are going to fall and die. And they will either die or just stuck there forever, which is, of course, equivalent to that. So the agent goal is to reach a cell which is over here. Obviously, the agent does not really know the cell, and goal is located. And in order to reach the goal, the agent is assisted by perception. Percepts include stench. Evidently, the monster wumpus is actually very smelly, so it kind of creates stench sensing in the surrounding cells. There is a breeze, which indicates that nearby there is a pit, and there is also glitter, which is only present as a percept the moment you enter that kind of cell, and therefore the moment you receive the glitter from the gold, then you know that you got the gold and you can exit the game. Okay, and that's basically how the game ends. So there are certain, I will call it other things that I want to mention about this environment. We have some performance awards, if I may call it like this, of 1,000 points for picking up the gold, minus 1,000 points for dying, and minus 1 point for each location or actually action that is taken, so that the agent would avoid performing unnecessary actions. Okay, so that is avoiding to endlessly roam between, let's say, this cell and that cell all the time. So evidently you get some penalty out of it, and then you will ultimately the game will end. And of course, minus 10 points. There's minus 10 points for using the arrow trying to kill the wumpus, and that is another negative reward. You can turn and you can walk forward. You can grab an object and you can shoot. These are the actions that this agent is able to provide. And of course, you can climb out of this cave, of this world, if you like. That is possible only at the starting location. Evidently, the game ends there. And of course, you can climb out the moment you get into the goal. And of course, the game ends as well there. Okay, so that's basically it. There is not really much else. We have already mentioned about the sensors, and I'm looking now at your course site where all this kind of information has been mentioned here. So this is all the information I just went through. Okay, so we have an environment which is definitely partially observable. We do not know anything about the global state other than the local, what is around me, what we're able to perceive through the percepts. And of course, it's a sequential decision-making kind of process. And we'll see a bit later in another video how these sequential processes are related to other things outside of logical reasoning, such as Markov decision process and reinforcement learning. We have another video for that. All right, so I think it's time now to start with writing a couple of things about the rules of the world just before we start taking actions. So I will just go back to writing over here, and I am going to start by quoting what we actually call a knowledge base. And we mentioned already about the knowledge base as a database where we store sentences, logical reasoning, implications, or all this kind of stuff that we will need to make inferences. So let's quote over here the initial state of the knowledge base. So let me write it here as knowledge base, and this will contain, let's say, some rules. I will title the rules as capital R with a subscript of an integer number, so that I'm starting with a rule R1. And the first rule of the game is that there is no pit. And then I'm writing two indices. One is the index that corresponds to the first one corresponds to this direction. So this is, let's say, the index I, and this will be the index J. And evidently 1, 1 is over here. And so this rule says there's no pit in location 1, 1. There's no pit in location 1, 1 means that it's a rule that allows us the game to proceed, because if there was a pit in that location, then the game will actually end. All right, so that's the first rule. The second rule that the knowledge base could contain is the following, which is B11. Evidently, P11 and B11, everything is a kind of a propositional symbol. So B11 is equivalent. So the B stands for breeze, P stands for pit. So let me just write this down as well. P stands for pit. B is a percept, stands for breeze. Okay, so B11 is equivalent to having a pit in 1, 2 or 2, 1. Okay, so that's when you will receive a breeze as a percept in let's say this location. And what I want to emphasize here is that with propositional logic, and we're having, if you like, a 16-cell kind of world, we have to go and write down all of cover a complete set of integer numbers from 1 to 4 for each of these indices. Okay, so I'm just quoting here just one out of the many that we can actually store in that kind of database. Let's give another one, R3. Let's say this is B21 is equivalent to, so we have let's say a breeze in 2-1 is equivalent to a pit in 1-1, or a pit in 1-1, or so this is the breeze in 2-1. This is breeze. Okay, so pit 1-1 or pit in 2-2. Let me write down the 1, 2, 3, 4. Or pit 3-1. All right, so this is so the first index is I, the second index is 3-1. Okay, so this is exactly what we have here. And may I also write, I think I forgot to mention this rule. Let me call it R0, because I should have mentioned it in the beginning, is that there is no wumpus in 1-1. Okay, so the game is not really ending by dying because we're eaten alive by this monster. Okay, all right, so that's basically a portion of the knowledge base purely from a point of view of the game rules. And now what we need to do is we need to actually create a table. So on the table, I'm just going to pause the video so that we have I'm actually going to draw this table. Okay, so I created this table. The first column of this table will be, let's say, the column state. The second column is going to be percept, what I'm receiving in perception. The third column is inference. And the third is going to be action. So this agent, as it turns out, is a very conservative agent. It will actually not take any action unless it is confident, it's certain that the cell is a safe cell to move into. Okay, so that's one thing to kind of note here. And I'm going to just start here with time instance number 1. And in that kind of time instance, we have another symbol that we'll call for location. L11 is equal to true. The agent is actually over here, and it is facing east, and I will symbolize with this proposition symbol, theta east, the fact that it is actually facing east, that way. And definitely, in terms of percept, the agent is not receiving anything. And when it comes to propositional logic, we have to specify every single lack of that percept, that truth. Let me call this rule R4, that we have no breeze in B11. Okay, and we have a whole bunch of other rules which I'm not going to quote, but you can understand that we have no stench, nothing, you know. So all this location is free of any percept. We don't receive anything, but we have to write them down explicitly. And what we can infer out of this, I am going to write down the rule for, let me call this rule R6. And I can infer that since I have received no breeze here, there is no way that there is a pit either here or here. Okay, so let me write down that there is no pit, this inference which I can make, there is no pit on 2-1. And of course, right now what I'm doing is I'm actually using my own logical reasoning sort of capability that I have inside my brain to infer that, but later we'll see how the machine will actually be able to do that using a couple of algorithms. And the action that actually we can take is that we can move forward. So in fact, east is actually facing that way, so we'll take this forward. So this is that way, east is that way, and north is that way. Okay, all right, so we move forward, and then evidently when we move forward we arrive at the second instance, second row over here where the L21 is true. So we are here, and guess what happens over here? We are storing into the knowledge base the B21, indicating that there is going to be a breeze, and this B21 indicates that this is true. Okay, so there is a breeze in 2-1, okay, as you can see, and we have as inference, let's say R7, either there's going to be a pit in 3-1, or it's going to be a pit in 2-2. Okay, so that's basically it. There is definitely also, we can make other inferences as well. We can make an inference that there is no possibility of having a wumpus in either 3-1 or 2-2. Okay, so we can actually write this down. I can mention it as without really quoting explicitly this kind of rules, numbers for space limitations. Negative W31, comma, negative W21. 2, 2. Okay. All right, so what we do is, as I said, the agent is very conservative and definitely cannot check this cell that it is safe, and it cannot check this cell that it is safe. So the only safe cell it can still go to is back to 1, 1, and it will actually do that. So it will go back to 1, 1. So L1, 1 is true, and it will face evidently west. It will still receive another percept information about negative B1, 1, and it will decide to go to another cell, and in that kind of cell it is really the cell 1, 2, and actually what we can see here is that there is no, we can infer that, so let me write down the sort of turn to show that explicitly we have an action for turn, and we have for east and 4, we have east and 4, the L1, 1 is equal to true, theta north is equal to true. We continue to not receive any breeze, and also we can infer that there is no pit in 1, 2, and the question is now, how do we make that kind of inference? And the answer is obviously that there is no possibility of having a pit over here, because otherwise we would have received a breeze. Okay, so we can actually make this inference, and then we can make the action. The forward actions is now we are facing north, and we have actually arrived on eastern 5. We have arrived at eastern 5 to L1, 2 is equal to true, and theta n is equal to true. Okay, so, and then at this moment in time we are receiving a stench 1, 2. Okay, and also what we can actually infer here is a couple of more important inference here. We have the stench. We can infer that W 1, 3 is true, and we can also infer that there is no pit in 2, 2. Okay, and now the question is why we actually can do this kind of inferences, and the answer is that when we were occupying L21, when we are in location at 2, 1, we did not receive a stench. Therefore, we have cleared that there is no wumpus present in either this guy or this guy. Okay, so now that we are here and we are receiving a stench, given the fact that we have cleared this cell, the only cell that it is remaining over here is the other cell which is next to us, which is 1, 3. So it is really now we can reason that the wumpus is on 1, 3. And evidently we also know that we cannot have a pit over here as well on 2, 2, because otherwise we have received the breeze. Okay, we didn't. Okay, so mind you, although I kind of tend to write down the positive percepts over here, there's a whole bunch of other negative percepts as well. So what we can then determine is that evidently we can move into this cell safely, and what we will do is we will turn and forward. So I'm just going to combine now this turn, move forward. So I turn eastwards and we moving into cell 2, 2. Moving into cell 2, 2. L2, 2 is equal now true, and we are facing east. Okay, and then of course we can start evaluating various kind of paths, cells as well. We can evaluate this cell and we can actually clear it because over here we have not received any percept information. So both of these cells are cleared, and we can actually move here, we can move here, and we can move there, and then we realize that we can't really book any more, and then we can actually start going backwards. So to cut the long story short, we could just turn to face north, and we can move then safely to the other cell, which we believe that it is safe. So this is L23. Then, of course, we are receiving S23, B23, and of course we see the glitter 23. Then we infer that there is a gold present over there, and we take the action of grab, and the game ends.